So for the last few years now, we've been trying to shift our organisation to become more improvement focused. And so it's been a gradual transition of preparing the ground, getting the context right over several years. And then we actually launched our QI program 2 years ago, from February 2014. So for the last 2 years now, we've been building capability and capacity to do improvement at scale across the whole organisation. That's involved engaging people, it's involved training people up at different levels of the organisation, it's involved aligning things from top to bottom, bottom to top, redesigning systems to support improvement, and supporting projects. And we now have about 155 projects across the organisation. I think engaging people is absolutely key in this. You have to try and make quality improvement feel meaningful, and feel meaningful as locally as possible. So engaging people at the front line to work on things that matter to them is really key for us. We're trying out lots and lots of different ideas to make this feel like a movement that's led from the ground rather than a corporate or a top-down program of work. And I think that's really key because people want to intrinsically improve quality of care, and I think all we have to do as leaders is to provide them with the skills, the support, and the permission to actually go ahead and change things. But they're tackling complex problems, so they need a robust support structure around them. They need to feel like this is going to be valued work and permanent, and that needs constant, relentless focus from leaders to make people feel like this is going to be here to last. It needs people to be engaging and inspiring and celebrating good work. Every time the board meets, a team will come and present their quality improvement work, and that helps build a link between the board and the front line, but it also helps educate boards about the work that's happening and the method that's being used and how to understand data. So from boards to frontline staff, we have newsletters that we send out with stories and data from teams across the organisation. We engage both within and outside, so we engage with our local commissioners, local stakeholders, patient groups, to help them understand the impact of the work. I mean, this work is all about impact, so just doing quality improvement by itself is not the point. The point is about improving outcomes for our communities and service users, and that's the story you have to tell. And you have to develop some local stories, and through local stories you'll influence people locally. So at the very beginning you might have to use stories from outside to help build the case for change, but you need to start small and build some pilot sites which will create the stories to engage and influence people within an organisation. Building capability and capacity for improvement is absolutely key. Most of the organisations that have been on this journey for 10 or 15 years are still building capacity and capability for improvement. This is the bit that also requires resource, so there's no getting away from the fact that you have to invest in this aspect of the work up front to get the return downstream. So we think about capability at multiple levels of the organisation, and not everybody needs the same level of skills. So our board spends time learning about how to lead this at board level and what it means for a board to be improvement focused. Our clinical leaders go through a much more in-depth 6-month program where they're learning improvement skills but applying that to a real life project. We have quality improvement coaches, so this is part of our local support structure. Every team will have a project coach, and they help support a team and help them build momentum with their testing. And this group of people have 1 day a week ring-fenced in their job plan to do coaching. And they have improvement skills and deep coaching skills. And then we have an internal expertise around improvement. So organisations need to think about who are their internal experts who will guide them on this journey. And again, that needs to grow. It doesn't need to become huge, but you need a central hub that can coordinate and provide guidance to the organisation. The final bit, and the most important bit, is the service users. So we really want to do all of our projects in partnership with service users or carers or families. And they need support as well with this. So we provide training for our service users. We give them introduction to the model for improvement, but we also give them skills and confidence around how to contribute to teams, how to present ideas, and help them understand what their role will be within quality improvement work. I think this sort of work is challenging. You need a lot of resilience to be able to continually reflect on the things that aren't going so well and adapt and come up with new ideas. So I think it needs innovation and ideas and agility to be able to adapt. I think the challenges will be different for many organisations. I mean, one early challenge is around boards, is helping a board understand the difference between the way they're currently operating and the way they would be operating if they were improvement focused. And I think that takes a lot of time. It took us about a year to really convince our board to go down this road and what it would mean for them. Convincing a board needs multiple tactics, as you would with any of these things. There's no single answer to this. You have to play to what individuals' intrinsic motivations, experience and knowledge are. So our executive team took to it quicker than our non-executive team. And I guess you need a coalition of executives to really buy into this and believe this before you're ready to start this work. So we took our board to other places. We took them to Scotland, where there's fantastic improvement work happening. We took them to Salford Royal, to Tees Escombe Weir, to places that are known for embedding a culture of continuous improvement, to learn from people who are living and breathing this work. We also ran some sessions to teach them, so formal sessions where the board will learn about the science of improvement and hear case studies of other organisations. We've also had to build a business case for this, because this is not just another program of work. If you go down this road, I see it as a shift in your organisation's strategy and business strategy. And so you need to build a robust case for why this is going to help deliver return on investment on the things that matter for the organisation. This sort of work has return at multiple levels. I mean, the most important return is about improving patient outcomes. So 2 or 3 years ago, we probably had only 2 or 3 stories to tell about teams that had improved outcomes for patients. Because of the scale of the work now, we can point to many teams that have managed to improve outcomes, either reducing waiting times, reducing pressure ulcers, reducing violence on inpatient wards. Some of our most complex challenges that we haven't been able to tackle for years. They've been too difficult, too tricky for us to even think about tackling. This method has unleashed our frontline staff to be able to come up with creative ideas and solve. And that's amazing, really, within a couple of years. But it shows what can be done if you just give frontline staff and service users the power and the skills to make change happen. So I think there are lots and lots of stories now we can tell about outcomes. There are emerging stories now about how this work can also improve efficiency and productivity. Most of our work isn't focused on that, but some has to be focused on improving the productivity and efficiency of teams. And we have emerging stories of that. And in any balanced portfolio of quality improvement work, a small number of projects would be focused on releasing cash from the system as well. And so an increasing focus of our work is about linking quality improvement with cost improvement now. And our finance team is doing cost modelling and evaluation of some of our important projects where we think there might be a relationship between improving quality outcomes and actually releasing cash savings from the system. My top tips are you're never ready for this work, so start before you're ready. Having said that, I think you do need certain things in place if you're going to try and do this at scale. So we spent several years just trying to get the context right. And the evidence from around the world is now pointing to context being absolutely key for this work to sustain. So we spent time changing the way we recruited and developed our nursing workforce. We spent time making sure our bed occupancy was manageable, that we were in a relatively good shape with our commissioners and regulators, that our finances were sound. And I think that gives you a bedrock of stability from which you can then allow your staff to be free to innovate. Because I think if you're constantly worrying about today's operational pressures, then that penetrates through into the behaviours of frontline staff. And they don't feel like they have the psychological safety to be able to think and innovate and be creative and test new things and actually fail and learn from failure. So I think you have to have a certain bedrock of assurance and financial stability to be able to then say we're now going to move beyond that and tackle some of our longer term complex problems through quality improvement. I think the fundamental part of this work is your staff, and it's really about engaging staff. And our experience has been that through letting go at the top of an organisation, being able to cede power, shifting the balance to allow frontline staff to lead change, has actually meant that our staff feel more engaged, they feel more motivated, they feel more able to contribute to improvements at work, and our staff survey results have shown that. And I think the more that we can encourage organisations that this is a better solution to tomorrow's problems than the old solutions we've had before. I think we can unleash the power of the millions of people working in healthcare and the millions of people receiving healthcare to be able to come up with the answers that we need for the really complicated problems we all face.